Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, people. Welcome to Empower Hour season 4. My goodness, season 4, episode 3. And I know everyone is super excited today because we have such a wonderful guest here with us today. We have Miss Nadia Jaftha. And I just want to thank you all for being so kind to. We know we made changes to the time frame and for you to show up. We're just so excited for that. And we just want to give you a big up for doing so and for being here with us today as well. Because this topic, I think, is something that we are both passionate about, myself and Nadia, and to bring it to everyone here as educationists within the WCED and from the e-learning, we're just excited to be able to have this kind of conversations and and to just unpack what all of this could mean for education as a whole, for the future of education, where we are going, and also just to come up with new innovative solutions towards developing our learners in the 21st century. So I want to welcome you, Nadia, to WCED Directorate E-Learning Empower Hour Season 4, Episode 3, The Power of the Creative Economy.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you so much for having me. Wow. I literally got off a plane, rushed to the office, did my makeup, did my hair just to make sure I look presentable for everybody. So I'm super excited to be here. Hopefully, it's not the first one. And yeah, I'm just excited to be able to contribute to something much bigger than me. So yeah, I'm excited to get started. And yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack, a lot to get through in 1 hour, but we'll try our best. I'll try my best.
Yeah, no, we are very excited to have you as well. And for those of you who don't know Nadia, which I highly, highly doubt, I mean, come on. So just to give a little bit of a bio about Nadia. So Nadia Jaftha is an award-winning content creator, entrepreneur, TV personality, social media personality, and visionary. Yeah, big words, baby girl. She
Where
is
is it on
a
Google?
She is a multi award winning lifestyle content creator and entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in content creation and remaining on trend. She's gone on to be one of the most influential digital personalities in South Africa. Her quirky personality, and I think many of us can attest to witnessing all of that, her quirky personality and relatable style of content has attracted brands like Nickelodeon, Amazon, YOLO Travel, GHD, Lux, Western Cape Government, YouTube, Nivea, Diesel, Red Bull, and Burger King, and WCED Directorate E-Learning, to name a few. To tap into the creative mind of Nadia Jaftha, who is now paving the way in building out the South African creator economy through a new age digital agency, Ace Labs. So wow, wow, wow. It is truly an honor to have you here with us and to
Thank
also
you.
to be able to have this kind of conversation. It is not often. One of my colleagues told me in the week that it is not often than these kinds of conversations come into the education space and allows us to be able to expand our thinking in terms of where education is going and how we are able to actually move through the spectrum of changes that are happening within
Mm.
this world.
I
And my
think there's an,
director is
an
saying,
inevitable change that is coming, that's already arrived, and either you're gonna get on the bandwagon or you know
absolutely. And we know this so well, especially being in the e-learning directorate. It's like we speak about technology integration, immersive technologies, and so forth. And it comes back to the same thinking. It comes back to moving with the times and also to be able to shift and change our mindsets around how we can revolutionize teaching and transforming that as opposed to simply just stepping back and saying, oh, this does not really work with me.
mm.
I want to make a point to make mention my director in the chat indicated they also want to be a Nadia.
Well, you can. That's the whole point of this conversation today.
That's Mr. C. Tomorrow we're gonna see you also gonna be all over the digital platforms. So I want to come to the topic in particular. One of the questions that came to me while I was when we sent out the invitations was Is it the creative economy that we're speaking about, or the creator economy? And I wanted to bring in, I wanted to speak to that to the entire audience actually, and I wanted you maybe to give some feedback towards it, because I know that the creator economy is particularly more individual based. It is more around the democratization of digital platforms and the self, and it is often also platform driven. If I'm correct about
Yeah.
that.
So it focuses on industries driven by creativity, like arts, media, design, and it relies on like innovation and cultural expression, especially.
Mm.
So whether you do music or you do art or you are an actor, or you just it's a platform to showcase those skills. That's all it is. It's a tool, in short.
Yes. And the creative economy is much more industry led. So it's a little bit more expanded. And I just wanted to, those people that actually asked about it, I just wanted to bring into that the topic was around the creative economy, because it really brings in both aspects of the individual as well as the industry, and
Yeah.
how we're able to actually create the blend between the two and actually see them as interlinked, if we think
Yeah.
about the way the world is shifting. And I want you to speak more to that culture and arts that you mentioned around the creative economy from your perspective, and what your full understanding also is within that sphere.
So I think, in short, when it comes to my personal story, when I started about 8 years ago, I just started and I had zero followers like everybody else. I didn't exactly know which industry I wanted to. I didn't know which path I wanted to be in, but I knew
Mm.
that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry, right? So I tried out all different avenues. I tried out music, I tried out acting, I tried out presenting, I tried out literally everything. And what
And
I found,
singing, let's not forget you
and
have a song out
and
there.
let's not bring that up because that's a very touchy
I'm not
subject.
even going to pretend that that is not out there also. Like I actually wanted, I was thinking I'm going to play it in the background as the start.
No, no, no. But I think what it allowed me to do is to express my creativity in different forms,
Mm.
and it really allowed me to discover what I actually wanted to do. And I think that's the beauty of social media, is that it allows you to discover yourself and empower yourself. And if you choose to do so, you can empower others or you can
Mm.
continue to empower yourself. It's really a decision that you want to make, but there is two very different courses that you can take. And I think that's why it's so important to kind of get in there early with the education system, because unfortunately a lot of children are very impressionable and they kind of get
Mm.
the wrong idea of what social media is about. They don't actually see it as an opportunity to build any kind of sustainable business for themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Within the sphere, within the e-learning, we focus a lot around the cyber wellness,
Yeah.
and we drive an initiative called the Cyber Effect, where we speak to these very things, particularly around the holistic development of our learners and our teachers
Mm.
within the cyber sphere. And we've also noted a number of sort of delusional thinking around what social
and
media looks
and it's
like.
and it's a real delusional, really delusional, because not only do you have the children, but because they're so impressionable, we can't really blame them. But unfortunately the parents are also encouraging
Mm.
toxicity in a way, but
Yeah.
not because they are doing it intentionally, but because there's a sense of this generational trauma, and that's culturally based as well, especially in
Mm.
our country. So the kids almost have this sense of responsibility to do that for their parents, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I
Yeah.
think that's also a very important conversation to have. And if the parents can have those kinds of conversations with the teachers and vice versa, because unfortunately there are hidden agendas and the children do get affected both from parents and from teachers,
Mm.
you
And
know,
and society as a whole. I
and
mean, just
society.
being on the
Yeah.
public domain, whether you're on Facebook, and I mean, we know the dopamine hits when you are getting 1,000 likes on something. I mean, even if you're
Yeah.
getting over a 50 likes, people we all automatically have this dopamine hit, and there's the addiction that can come forth with that as well.
And
And
also, sorry to break your word, but
no, no
also,
problem.
during COVID, all the attention was on social media,
Yes.
and as a result, there were a lot of creators that came out of COVID. But what happened
Mm.
was, they got all of the attention, they got the following, but they had no clue how to monetize.
Yeah.
They had no clue what to do with it.
Mm.
So I think that's also because of COVID, there was kind of like this wave of creators, but creators that don't necessarily know where they want to go, you know?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I want to touch on what you just mentioned, now the monetization. But before I do, I just wanted to bring to the audience as well. Please, if you have any questions that you want to bring forth, just add it to the chat. We'll interweave it into the conversation. There's also a register link for you to complete with an ID key of 2110.
I
And there are
also
some,
just I also just want
yeah,
to say sorry. I'm new to this speaking situation. That is one of the things that my my job has led me to do, like what I'm being called to do. So please forgive me if I don't make sense, or if you want me to, say something again, then I don't mind doing that. Just to touch on what you said.
darling, the thing about us here in this space, we just are. It's basically authentic vulnerability is it. We work through it. There's so many. One of this whole empower hours to cultivate that kind of space for us just to have conversations. It's a
Yeah.
no judgment zone. It's a space for us to be able to think more. And you are doing excellently. I don't know what you are talking about.
Thank you.
Like we are just having a conversation here. No, you are doing excellently. So
Thank
yeah, so
you.
any kind of questions that you guys may have, please put it in the chat and please complete the register. And there will be some polls running throughout the day, throughout the session, throughout the day. Ooh, Nadia, that must be some calling for us to have a full day workshop. But
Listen, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Like I really am. After this, I'm having a sit down with my team, and we have some exciting stuff coming
don't
up.
worry, I look forward to our connect very soon after this too. So I want to come back to the monetization that you spoke about. So I just wanted to ask you. So you mentioned earlier on in terms of that a lot of creators came out of COVID. So if we think about even before COVID, so how has the digital platform sort of transformed over this period of time from the more traditional sense previously?
So definitely increased accessibility.
Okay, yeah,
So,
definitely.
if you have to think about it, you have more of a global reach now, as opposed to just being in Cape Town, just being in South
Mm,
Africa. You have more of a global reach, global impact. Um, and you get direct engagement. So
mm,
now it's more personal. So when you're seeing your favorite creator, they are in their bedroom. It's you are in the room there with them. So it's a
mm.
much more personal experience.
Yeah.
And then also it's an opportunity to kind of like self-publish. So if you have
Yes.
any passions, if you want to write a book, those opportunities are a lot easier and a lot more accessible.
Mm,
And then also, again, you're able to reach international audiences with your product, you know. And I think
mm,
that's something that we kind of lacked in the past. And then also, you have opportunity for multiple income streams. So I think that's the
absolutely.
most important thing, is that you have opportunity and access to multiple income streams.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I do want to bring, I mean, we are talking all over, which is great because I mean the conversation is just flowing. But I do want to come to what you just said now about the fact that the self-publishing, the idea of that access that is so open at this moment.
Yeah.
So if we think about that and we think about how democratized our voices actually are these days and expertise, how does one, if you are a viewer, how do you navigate through that expertise that you are viewing from somebody? Because literally anyone can say anything these days and present themselves as one that has have expert opinion on certain things. So
Yeah.
how do you create, or what kind of advice can you give to those that want to go into this field without having to overstep a role that they may not be an expert in?
You asking me? I definitely came out with 3 songs and I wasn't a singer. So I'm the wrong person. You know what? I don't think that there is such a thing as look. It depends. Obviously, I'm not going to go out and say I'm a medical doctor or
Of
I
course,
am
yes.
a physician or anything like that. But I think when it comes to the creative economy, I
Mm,
don't think there's such a thing as overstepping, because it's your own interpretation, it's your
mm,
own kind of logic in where you want to go. So I don't think there's such a thing as like overstepping in that way. Like I said, I kind of trialed and errored everything, and if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have been here or known what I truly wanted to do. Because when I started, I did chase vanity metrics, I did chase followers,
Mm,
I did chase fame, I did chase clout, I did chase all these accolades now. But now it's like I'm chasing more of an impact. So I think that can only be discovered when you are on social media and you literally experience it for yourself. you
mm,
know I think that's the best advice I can give, is to just go on social media and try out different things and see what it is,
mm.
where your passions actually lie, and try and nurture those passions.
Yeah. And coming to that, so I want to also come to the questions that are in the chat, but I also want you to speak to, like, how do you think this digital world, I want to come into the education sphere. So how do you think the digital world is sort of shaping learner identities right now in the classroom?
Sure. So obviously, because we have more kind of access to a global stage,
Mm.
they are kind of getting influenced by
Yeah,
global creators. Like for example, everybody knew when Prime launched in South Africa, because why? It was a Logan Paul's brand that he doesn't even own 51% of. Nobody knows that, but because it was owned by him, the hype was there. And
yeah,
those kids, they're not going to drive themselves to the mall. The
yeah,
parents are going to drive
definitely.
them there. So the parents were also impacted. The parents were
Yes.
also affected, you know. So I think that alone should tell you the cultural impact that
And
social
influence it
media
has,
and
yes.
influence that social media
And
has.
the susceptibility to mob mentality and
Exactly, but that's the way that they wanted that, because we were on the launch of Prime, and that was the brief. They wanted it to look chaotic. They wanted over shoulder. They wanted it filmed guerrilla style, handheld, because that was their brand. And
mm,
because now more and more international brands are coming into South Africa and they're seeing the value that we can actually give to the world, there's going to be more eyes on us, which
yeah,
consequently will mean that we will be affected more.
yeah,
So I think that's something that's going to happen regardless. So yeah, I think a lot of kids now as well, they're not going to Google to learn how to bake a cake. They're going to TikTok. They're
yeah,
going to TikTok and they're saying, how do I bake a cake? And they don't have to sit and wait for the first 20 seconds to see what everything is in bite size. People aren't sitting, the attention span isn't long anymore, so, and that all affects teachers actually as well.
yeah.
How do you actually educate your kids if they are like chilling on their phones watching TikToks?
Exactly. And I was actually, there was a period of time I was a little bit angry at the whole process because as TikTok videos became the 15-second kind of algorithm kind of concept, made attention span even shorter, so which makes impacts education even more because let's be honest, the way the system works, we don't naturally have a bite-sized system, information isn't fed at a bite-sized level or knowledge isn't fed in that way.
Yeah.
And so what advice would you then give? I mean, we have a number of educationists in this session. We have that will also watch the recording of this thereafter to be able to. What advice can you give us in also along the lines of how do we shift things a little bit more to make it more
If you
impactful for
can't beat
learners?
them, join them. If you can't beat them, join them. So there's a few teachers on social media. I think one is Mrs. Angler, and there's another one that was actually in a Checkers ad now. I think she does like I'm a piano dances
Mm,
with her students. So I think those kinds of teachers are really gonna be successful because they are actually learning to build relationships with their not the followers, with their students.
mm,
They taking extra time, they investing more into actually learning about the culture of students now, because it's very different to when I was in high school.
yeah, of course.
So I think just that juxtaposition of students, engaging in social media with teachers, like that already is, it's uncomfortable, but I think it just makes it a lot more it's a lot more easier for students to actually want to listen to teachers. Like, let's
Mm.
be honest, because if a teacher is more of a friend than an authoritative kind of figure, then they're a lot more open to learning from that teacher, especially when they feel like they are part of their culture,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
I think teachers will find it very kind of like useful to just scroll on social media and see what the kids are up to,
Yeah.
learn their lingo, see what's in fashion, see what's in style. It's literally just research, you know. And I
Mm.
think the teachers that are actually going to foster those relationship with those students are going to be the ones that are going to make a real impact on them, because they learn how to speak their language.
Yeah, and with
You know,
that, they
you
are able to help navigate them through those processes, not just to create content for the sake of content, but more purpose-driven content that's actually going
exactly.
to benefit society.
Exactly. And there's students that, I mean, there's teachers that kind of go out of their way to put educational content on their platforms to make things easier for students. So like how to highlight correctly, or
Mm.
how to make mind maps correctly. It's like back in the day when you used to go home after school and you used to watch that guy that used to teach you maths on
Yeah, he
the
passed away recently, actually.
oh
Yes.
no. Oh my goodness. But me, I but you used to watch him, and you used to kind of become familiar with him, familiar face. I used to go to master maths, but now it's like students can go home, they can go on their phone, and they can literally learn while they're on social media.
Mm.
And because in South Africa, on average, people open TikTok specifically 9 times a day.
Wow.
They're spending an average of an hour and 29 minutes on TikTok a day. So
Phew.
the attention's already there. Why not make
Mm.
use of the attention that's already there? And because they're still in school and you are presenting something to them in an entertaining way, then it's like a double whammy, you
Mm.
know?
So I want to go to the chat just because the chats are going to fill up with questions, and I don't want to come to the end and then we are completely
Yeah, it's
lost with the
already
number
almost
of chats.
halfway,
I know. That's why we're going to have a part two, y'all. You heard it right
for
here.
sure.
So we put some polls out. So one of the polls we put out was, are we as education doing enough in educating children about social media? Majority said no. So that's good to know. We've got things to do. There was a comment about we need a masterclass, Nadia. Uh,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
and then another question came through. What is the number one challenge that people who want to enter the space may encounter?
I think just the nervousness of caring what people think. I think,
Mm,
to be honest, I think that's the biggest thing, is that people are too scared to post, because they're scared of what people are going to think. They're scared of what they, as a teacher might be scared to post because of what their students might think. A student might be scared to post because of what their peers might think. If a student does post and the student does become popular, then it's the stress of that student getting bullied, because
mm,
they're popular on a platform, but then they come to school and then they're a normal student, but they can't actually move like a normal student, because it's tricky. So it's like, what systems are in place to kind of accommodate those students that do get that kind of attention, but they still have to kind of come to class and be a student, you know?
so with what you are saying, do you then think that that aspect should be incorporated into the teaching and the learning process as well?
100%. That's why I
Because it's
think like
something we
it's
can't run away from because kids are going
exactly.
to be online anyway, and we can't control the metrics that they are going to be
Exactly.
receiving.
But that's why I think that if a teacher just, they do the research, because realistically, if you have a room full with 20 kids, most of them are going to have social media. I'm not saying
Mm.
stalk those children, but I mean, just familiarize yourself with your students, and you'll kind of pick up, if because a lot of them are very open these days, like especially Gen Alpha, Gen Z. They don't care, they say how they feel, they go online, they talk about, and then now you do something in class, they go on their social media tomorrow and they're talking crap about you. And they, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just, that's why I'm saying, like, just go on social media, familiarize yourself with them, maybe make closed groups just with your students on social media where you create fun challenges, but in an educational way. Um, there's lots of ways to skin the cat with it.
Yeah. And I also want to, since you're mentioning that, with the onset of social media and cell phones, and you asked me when we were chatting previously, are cell phones allowed in the classroom and in the school? And
Oh, they are
while the
actually. I'd actually be curious to know, like, if if
Well, it
if
is at the school's discretion, but we also do have bring your own device policies that the schools also have. We also have devices that are in the environment as well, a mobile device like tablets and so forth for learning purposes. And so there is a strong promotion of bring your own devices across, but all schools have their own discretion around these kinds of policies. We do have guidelines that we put out every second year. We update around how to utilize. Um, Mobile devices in the classroom and in the school environment, what teachers should look out for, what learners should look out for, whose responsibility, the different responsibilities within that, the challenges that can come with that, and how to mitigate those things as well. So we can only put out the guidelines in order to navigate that process and to provide the effective knowledge for it. However, it still comes back to the school being able to make those decisions themselves and
yeah.
how they manage it as well. So, but we also have obviously a number of challenges where a lot of videos of bullying is taken at schools, fighting. Um, Learners are pulling out their cell phones when they are in the wrong and they have an
And they
altercation with
almost
a teacher and
Yeah,
things
and they
as such.
almost like kind of they almost do things on purpose to get a reaction
Yes.
out of said student or said teacher, and then they post that online, and sometimes it's not the full story. But by that time the narrative is already out there.
Yeah. So
So
how would
that's
you advise to sort of what kind of tips or thinking should we be implementing into our learners just to what's the word I'm looking for now? To sort of to mitigate and to get away from this process of viral mentality, the desire to go viral. Um, because I think
I
that
th-
often leads a lot of the behavior in our learners as well as in our adults. I mean, I don't know if you would remember from school the poem Not Waving but Drowning, that concept where we'd rather take the cell phone out when something bad is happening as opposed to helping the situation.
mm.
So what kind of thinking do we actually work around in bringing into our curriculum to actually help us to steer away from this viral kind of thinking?
I think definitely try and integrating practical practical ways to just yeah, I would say implementing practical ways that student can actually get a taste of, so for them to prepare projects where it's based on a social media experience. So like,
Hmm,
okay, so now give them scenarios. Now you're pitching this brand to a client. I think
that's a
just
great
getting more
idea.
practical ways where they can learn how to build a business around their brand, because
Mm,
essentially every creator is a personal brand.
yeah.
They just don't know it. And I think there's a big misconception that you can only be a creator if you have millions and hundreds and thousands of followers. But even if you have one follower and you're posting a video, you're technically a creator. And
Mm,
a lot, and now the attention isn't even going to the celebrities. Most celebrities and big creators, they can't even sell 7 t-shirts. But if you have to go to a creator that has maybe 5,000 followers but the community is strong, they are able to build much more successful businesses.
mm.
So I think just incorporating that kind of even if you incorporate it into businesses, I think they still do business in
Yes,
school
so sort of
subject.
economics and business studies
If
and so
in
forth.
life
Yeah.
orientation, you can incorporate it in small ways into each subject,
Mm,
where over time it will just become like a natural way of thinking, you
mm,
know. Whereas for me, that we didn't really have that in our time. So when we left high school and I became a creator. I was like, oh, I need to be VAT registered. What is tax? What is it? You kind of hit with all of these reality checks, and you don't know where it came from, because technically being a creator isn't a real job, or being an influencer
Mm,
isn't a real job. So they don't really think of those kind of repercussions. So I think like integrating it into each subject in an organic way, and a way that they can actually use when they leave high school. Instead
mm,
of just thinking, okay, social media is just for followers and for dancing and for trends. It's actually
yeah.
like in China, they don't even use TikTok as a social media platform. It's an e-commerce platform where they sell product, and it's a business platform.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's actually a good question as a follow up to what you're saying. So then, how do we ensure that learners choose educational resources over leisure resources on social media? Let's use TikTok, for example.
What do you mean? Can you?
I think it's more to do with the fact that how do we actually bring them into wanting to watch the educational content as opposed to just watching, like you're
Well,
saying, the dancing,
I
the
think
trend.
look. There's a lot of local creators that students follow. I think getting them in to talk for an hour, or to talk on their experiences on the business side of things, the realistic side of things. Maybe get them to say, "Hey, who's your favorite local creator?" I mean, if
Mm,
I'm involved, not to toot my own horn, but I'm sure that I can get a local creator to come in and talk, or
mm,
whatever. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it
yes.
will be that hard, even if I come myself. But there's a lot of younger creators that are there's because we work with younger creators. There's 16-year-olds that are doing reviews, and they're making proper money.
Mm,
The kid market is huge.
yeah,
So I think just getting speak like again, it comes to speaking their language and getting their favorite local creators to come in and speak on their experience when it comes to the business side of things, and not
yeah.
just the glitz
The
and the
glitz
glam.
and glam.
Yeah, because realistically, what will happen is that they'll all be chasing it. They'll all be chasing it. By the time
Yeah.
they look back, it's too late to make any kind of like real progress, you know?
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, social media is real, but it's also not.
And it can also become super overwhelming. I mean, just the nature of social media in itself can become extremely overwhelming, and also to be able to keep that navigation,
Yeah.
that visibility, to keep on trend, to so sometimes people even resort to doing things that is beyond their character simply
Yeah.
just to maintain a
But you know what? It's to make them understand that social media is forever, and what they
mm,
put online is forever. It's not gonna go away. So it's like when you are 20, 30, you want to look back and kind of be proud of what you put out there, but it's also up to the education system to educate these kids on, safe zones.
mm,
Just educate
yes.
on safe zones. What is okay, what isn't okay, and just doing stuff like that. Yeah,
That's fantastic. I think
I'm getting very passionate about it because
no, I'm loving it. I'm
there's
loving it.
so yeah, there's so much. There's so much, man. There's so much.
Trust me, I get super passionate, and sometimes people have to be like, tone down. So, by all means, get as passionate as you desire. Because this is a very big topic. This is a very important topic, and it's not being spoken about enough. And if we have to be very brazen about that reality that education has been continuing, but it's not been integrating the shifts within technology and the shifts within the digital world into that
Mm,
curriculum enough for us to actually be well prepared and say that we are preparing our learners well for the future, and not even for the future, for the
yeah.
present. So by all means, that passion is needed because it is purpose driven, and it is led from a place of we can't let them go out there without knowing how
I think
to
yeah,
work
because
through it.
obviously, when for me personally, there's a lot of things that I posted that I regret, a lot of ways in which I acted that I regret, that I can't, remove. But also, I didn't know any better. Now we're
Yeah,
in a position where we do know better, and I feel like because we do know better, we should use those resources to really like shift the way and the narrative of the next generation inevitably going to be using social media as a way of their life in everything that they do.
Absolutely, and we cannot pretend that this is just happening in the background. We can't, a lot of we do have sometimes teachers saying, "No, but I only use WhatsApp," and WhatsApp itself is a platform that you are being published on. So we are all
Exactly.
publishers in our own right. So we have to take the accountability to that as well, and not pretend that we are not part of the system that's also
Exactly.
cultivating these things.
Exactly.
So. There's been so many comments, not as many questions, a lot of comments around what we are saying and references to. I don't know if you can also see the chat, so you can also move through
No,
the
I
chat
don't.
on the side. Um,
No, I can't see. I'm on my iPad, so I can't.
oh, okay.
I don't
No,
want
that's
to.
going to
I
be
don't want to tap
difficult.
in if it's
No,
getting
it's
it.
okay because if you're on your iPad, it's going to take you out of the
Yeah.
window. So there's a number of wonderful comments that's also being made. I'm just going to read them. One of the more recent ones: social media has made learners aware that they have a voice,
Yeah.
but they have not yet developed the skills to use their voice. Unfortunately, now the majority use their voice to create noise.
Yeah.
Maybe you can speak to that.
I think the noise is just loud. There are a lot that are trying to use it for good intent, but unfortunately, those voices are people love drama, they love scandal, they love sensationalism. So,
Mm,
what I would also encourage is some kind of student podcast within schools where they can just
mm,
kind of discuss learner to learner. I think that could also be a very useful tool. I don't know if they're doing it, I don't know if they've implemented it, but I think a podcast that kids are doing podcasts anyway,
yes.
but it's mostly centered around drama and talking crap
Yeah.
about this person and that person. I've yet to see a podcast that actually focuses on the educational value that social media can bring within
Mm,
said school. You know,
yes, I hear
I think
you. I
that's
hear
I
you.
think that's a really good tool that I haven't seen
I think
being
that's an
implemented yet.
excellent, and you've actually given some amazing suggestions also that can be brought forth into the space, that we can already take back and say, listen, try this, or, here's
Yeah.
an idea. And I'd love to pick your brain even more after, um, about what kind of tips we can give our teachers also, how these certain things can be integrated into the curriculum.
I think that would
Because,
be very cool, like a student podcast or even like a teacher
yeah,
podcast. Because I think much like you view your favorite creator and you kind of want to know what goes on behind the scenes. And when I was in school, I used to walk past the teachers' kind of lunchroom and just wonder what are they doing in there? What are they talking about? What's going in? So I think like that also kind of um, lifts the curtain and kind of if a teacher doesn't want to use social media, they don't have social media. I think a podcast. Imagine a teacher hosts a podcast and then maybe the principal is on for one episode and they just they're talking about. I think that's just to kind of make it more casual and not a
yeah.
scary thing. I think a lot of people are still scared of social media.
I think it also breaks that hierarchical thinking. Like, I mean, you're mentioning now the staff room, and we know how cool and liquor we felt when we were invited to go put something in in the staff room, and then we felt so, oh, I'm so important, you know. Because you're getting a view into that world. So no,
Yeah,
that
I think it's
hierarchical concept is also important to kind of not break, but also just to shift so that conversations become more open and more authentic in that to drive change and to
yeah, but I
drive
think
wisdom in the same breath.
yeah, but not to confuse. I mean, I don't want teachers now to be like, oh, we're all besties, whatever. I just
No.
think it's maintaining those boundaries, but also
Mm,
allowing students to feel comfortable enough to express themselves, in
yeah.
healthy ways. So they
No,
don't have
absolutely.
to go online and talk crap, or they don't have to, feel like they can't do what they want to do.
Absolutely. And you're speaking about you mentioning boundaries. I was watching a couple of weeks ago a video podcast with Brene Brown, and she said something quite fascinating around creativity because it was about creativity as a whole. And she speaks about, I wrote something down here that creativity is deeply tied to vulnerability because when we create, we risk sharing parts of ourselves that could be judged or rejected. And she even speaks about the fact that if we don't use our creativity and it becomes benign within us, it can actually transform or metastasize into something like grief and
Mm.
sorrow and depression. And that's why creativity, art therapy is such a wonderful way to expand ourselves and to step out of the negative thinking that we have. So bringing that in, I mean, you are a social media influencer, you are a public figure, you're also a businesswoman, and you have gone through so many different levels and phases of your life, in which you were able to navigate your personal as well as your professional. So, what kind of advice can you give, and how did you able to create those boundaries? Because I mentioned to you, I mean, I've watched your journey, I've witnessed your journey. I don't want to say watch, I've witnessed your journey over these years. And I've seen the growth in you as well in terms of moving in different sets of your boundaries and having to be able to have those conversations very candidly with your audience as well, to be able to educate others, to have some measure of wisdom that I'm a normal person living my life.
Yeah.
And so, would you also advise others within that space to create those boundaries, to be able to have your personal and your professional identities and how to integrate it? Because overlapping, we can't pretend the one doesn't exist,
Yeah.
to integrate it. Because let's be honest, and the reason why I'm also bringing this question in is because there are a number of teacher influences that we do have. And there's sometimes a lack of discernment in the fact that they are teachers for a institution as
Mm.
well as an individual person who is a teacher. I mean, those are two very different things.
Yeah.
So there's representation that is happening on both ends. So what kind of advice can you give and around that entire thing that I just said, with regard to boundaries, with
Mm.
regard to personal and professional, your identity, protecting institutional identity, and so forth?
I think, look, if a teacher is a teacher and that's the path that they've chosen, then I think that they should always be a teacher first. I
Mm,
think if they want to kind of be social media and kind of get the followers and all of that, then I think it becomes a very different agenda. And not to
mm,
say that either is wrong, but I think that it's very important for the teacher to know what the purpose of their platform really is. You
mm,
know, I think it becomes tricky when teachers are kind of, I speak from my own personal perspective. Like I was told I'm very vulnerable, right? But I didn't feel like I was vulnerable because to me I was just being honest, right? Like I'm not gonna go online and be vulnerable from a place of genuine weakness.
mm,
Like I'm not gonna come online just as something happened, traumatic happened in my life. And now I'm
mm,
coming online and I'm saying, this is what happened, what should I do? Blah, 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 blah. No, I have those support structures offline that
mm,
help me there. And then when I'm strong enough, I come back online so that I can serve my purpose and maybe help others that have gone through something similar to me from a place of strength, you know?
mm.
I think now when it comes to teachers, I think their agenda will become clear over time the more that they use social media, and
Mm,
it can either go this way or it can either go that way. But that's
yeah.
out of anyone's control, you know?
Mm,
I think that the core purpose should always be to educate, to uplift, to motivate. But I think that that's just my personal opinion for anybody using social
yeah,
media. I don't believe
absolutely.
that people should use social media for anything else, you
Yes.
know? So it's tricky because now like you will get some teachers that kind of like maybe the younger teachers that start on social media and they think, oh, okay, like I'm becoming quite popular here, I don't want to be a teacher anymore, and then they pursue their passions maybe that
Mm,
they had from when they were 2 years old. Like we don't know, do you know what I
mm,
mean? But that's also not for us to judge, because you may realize, actually I don't want to deal with these kids, I don't want to be a teacher.
yes.
Know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
there's a lot
that's
of rant sessions like that.
yeah. So
Like I was like, what? Why is my algorithm just telling me teachers are frustrated?
Yeah, and I think that's completely valid. I don't think that those frustrations should ever be voiced to the students. I don't think that that should
Mm.
ever be a
But it
two-way
does get to them
conversation.
through the social media. And
Hey,
that's just, it does get to them through social media in that way. It does. No?
from the students to the from the teachers to
From
the
the teacher to
students.
the students. Yeah. I mean, if they view, if the learners will obviously also be viewing these videos. So it will also impact
But
what
but
they, how they understand it.
that's fine, but like as a teacher, then you should know kind of what you're putting out there for
Mm,
your learners, especially if you're a teacher, then you should understand that your learners are watching this. And if you
mm,
want to have kind of like a private profile where you can express yourself in other ways, then by all means have a
yeah.
private profile. I have a private profile that I literally accept every single person myself, and on there I just post whatever I want. But I understand
Mm,
that on my main page, this is a business. This is, my work. It's my
yeah.
brand. This is what brands pay me to promote. The same way, this is what the school pays the teacher to promote.
Yes.
So I think that,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So with that said, then do you think I don't because like we mentioned earlier on, there hasn't
Yes,
really
someone
been
commented etiquette on social media etiquette. Yeah.
yes. Um, so like you're saying now, with regard to that, I think, do you think because look, like I said earlier, we haven't had these conversations driving the narrative. And I mean, it's been our intent to consistently try to bring these conversations in, and that's one of the reasons why you are here as well. And we absolutely appreciate your insights with regard to this. Do you think then, from our perspective, WCED, from an official policy perspective, there should be some kind of policy or guidelines for teachers with regard to having social media, or do you think that would be stepping into a more trying to control the situation?
I think there should be,
Cool.
general guidelines that educators should follow if they choose to be on social media and they choose to still be with the school that they at, unless they are into e-learning or they do,
Mm,
that kind of thing. But I think if you are representing a bigger institution and it's your kind of responsibility to kind of implement certain structures within those students, then you kind of be a part of a bigger engine, you
especially if
know?
you're promoting you are a teacher.
Exactly. Like
That's where you're coming from.
I think that personal branding should come second when you are an educator.
Mm,
I
fantastic.
think that the kids should come first. So you should use the platform to uplift the kids in any way that you can.
I
That's just
love
my
that.
personal opinion.
I love that. So yo, can you believe it? We have 8 minutes left. Like this time is just flying. Like how
We're gonna
is
do
it?
a part two, man. Don't
Yes, we
sleep.
have
Don't
another one
sleep.
in
We
November. We're
can
gonna
we
speak
can
about
we
that
can
guy.
break it up into categories like
It's already been said, Nadia. November is gonna have to happen now.
yeah. I think because our industry isn't regulated, I think with these structures being put into place, these small structures that are put into place can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I
But
want you
it
to.
starts here.
Yeah, I want you to speak to, like, we have this massive project, Growth for Jobs, also within our sphere. And so we also want to be very cognizant of what kind of careers are possible within the creative economy. I mean, I know there's a whole, besides the creative economy, there's the gig economy. All these labels are just insane. But like, so what kind of future careers can you think of, or current ones that we already maybe don't know about, that has sort of come out of this creative economy as a whole?
I think anything when it comes to social media and being the creative economy, anything that you're passionate about, you can turn into a career. So if I'm passionate about painting and I paint on my social media, I can either show you my painting or I can teach you how to paint. I can sell courses on how to paint. I can, what I mean? I think the possibilities are endless, especially when it comes to social media. And when it comes
Mm,
to me, I've tried everything. So I'll
mm,
always be a firm believer in that. Try things out, don't box yourself, because you're
yeah.
never going to know what you're actually passionate about until you try it out.
Mm.
until you actually there and you experience it and you're doing it. Because yeah, I think the chasing vanity metrics on social media is a very toxic culture right now,
It's also very
because it
bad
is
for the
about getting
mental
all.
health. It's,
It's really bad. Honestly, I can
mm.
attest to that. Like, yo, it, I've I've been through that. That's gonna be a whole other segment, is cyberbullying, because I can talk for hours on that,
I
to a point
absolutely
where it
love
actually
that it's
got like
aligning with
physical.
I love that it's all aligning with our cyber wellness theme that we're pushing also now, and the
Yeah,
education around it, because we are really passionate within the e-learning sphere around really making people aware of those challenges, aware of how to navigate through it, aware of mitigation strategies that are more
yeah,
restorative than it is punitive. And I think we are a culture that have previously or traditionally looked to punitive measures, and that doesn't work within the generations that we are teaching today. It doesn't work within the structures that we are working within today. So looking at more restorative measures to be able
yeah.
to navigate these kind of things, and I can just
And sustainable
imagine,
measures.
and sustainable measures, yes, and I can just imagine the levels of, I want to say, drama that you may have gone through within the sphere, within the social
I have
media.
people follow me home, hey.
Hey, goodness.
I have people follow me home, pull my hair in the club, like throw a drink on me. I'm like, what did I do to you, bro? Like, I'm just, I'm just trying to live my life. I, I think people still have this idea that I want to be like famous or whatever, but I think people really misunderstand me. But it's also because of the brand that I put out there. So
Yes.
now I'm being very intentional about rebranding myself, kind of making my values a bit
Mm,
more clear. I think that's where it also needs to start, is just having value, self-value,
mm,
self-respect, really going working from the inside out. So putting measures in place in school where learners are actually checked up on with regards to their mental health is
yes.
very, very important to me. Where they checked up on their mental health, where parents are educated on how to kind of spot certain patterns at home, maybe having more of a close relationship between students and parents, just to
Mm.
kind of help the student more.
Absolutely. I think you're touching on some things that I'm so passionate about myself. I mean, one of the things around digital empathy is so important for me, like, and nurturing that level of thinking, and the communication. It's deeply ironic. We in such a communication age, information age, and all of that, but we are unable to actually communicate properly with one another to be able to move through things. And social media is actually, in one way or another, has actually made it a little bit more challenging, because
Yeah,
we having
especially after
one-sided
COVID.
conversations. Yes, we're having
Yeah.
one-sided conversations also, and the navigation of comments. Sometimes I think to myself, goodness, people, when people just start with, I'm here for the comments, then you are going to get some really terrible
but
things being said
but
on
you know
that.
what, like, yeah, but but even with me, for example, I think people are really surprised when they meet me, and I'm actually quite like withdrawn and introvert, because I think a lot of people don't realize is that the reason why content creators create content in their own homes with no one around is because they most likely like can't they're not able to socialize like most people. So they feel
Mm,
more comfortable at home with their phone alone,
yeah,
so I think when it comes to that kind, when they get that kind of attention, the kind of malfunction was like, this is not really what I signed up for. No, well, at
yeah.
least me, I that's why I'm kind of like just trying to work so that I can disappear again and just
Oh
have
my
peace
word.
and
Yeah,
try and
I
help
get
where I
you.
can.
No, I'm loving it, and we are witnessing the growth, and also the way you are also moving through the space, especially with regard to the kind of insights that you are giving, the guidance that you are giving. It's really valuable, because the thing is, our teachers, our educationists, we need to have these kind of conversations to be able to shift our thinking. I mean, social media is being, when we feed social media ideas or cyber wellness or all of the online safety kind of concepts, the automatic thing that comes forth is fear. And that fear often
Yeah.
dissociates us from being able to actually cross the bridge to be able to be there on the other side with everyone. And
Mm.
so with that, we to be able to have this kind of conversation with people that have like at hand experience and showcasing what it means to have these restorative aspects to it, to have these expansive opportunities that leads from it. I mean, I can just imagine. I mean, we know, and we say this all the time within education, that our kids are going to go into jobs that are not yet invented, and that is a very real reality because. I mean, I can just imagine also from the social media sphere, like you are mentioning now. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was nothing called the head of creator economy. There wasn't even something called creative
Hey,
economy.
I made that up, eh?
Exactly. You see, now tomorrow you're going to see in another company, another creator economy, head of creator economy, So
Yeah.
these things are real. The opportunities that is cultivated from the online world is something that we need to draw into our space, that we need to infuse into the education sphere. And I mean, I'm just so
But
excited because my mind is just going in thousand ways of how what more
there's
can
so
come
much
forth
we can
from
do.
this.
There's so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much. There's
I
a
can't
lot.
believe
There's a
that it
lot.
is 12 o'clock.
I'm really excited.
I can't believe it is 12 o'clock. I'm going to ask if there's any
Yeah,
other questions
we'll
that
do
want to
this
come.
again.
Yes, we will. Any other questions that want to come from the floor? And I'm going to ask you a question, Nadia, about so how do you envision the future of the creative economy, and how do you think education will play in that if
Mm,
we go the right way?
if we go the right way, then I definitely think that, overall, it will help the country.
Mm,
Definitely, it will help the country. Um, I think with the emergence of more independent creators, I think there'll be a lot more opportunity for expansion. So
mm,
I think that's what it's about. Everybody's looking at South Africa now, especially. I think we should really just take that opportunity to just invest in our own people, our own resources, and just build our country up instead of leaving to find opportunity elsewhere. The opportunity is
mm,
right here.
I
The
love that.
opportunity is right here. You don't have to leave. There were many opportunities where I could have moved, I could have gone, I could have moved a long time ago, but I'm like, I'm so passionate about building our own economy that
Mm.
I just think that we are too diverse and too beautiful and too talented to not make use of our own people and our own resources and really invest into that and through the education system.
Sure. I absolutely love that. What you just mentioned now. I think, yes, Lizette was mentioning now culture is too rich, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And that kind of passion is just reminds us back again that there's so many bad things happening
I
right
wish I could
now.
see the
And
comments,
it's,
man.
I will download them for you, and you can have a view of them.
Okay.
um, there's some amazing comments that have come through, so I'll definitely share them with you. And yeah, there's so much happening in this world, and there's so many things happening in South Africa that's just made us all sometimes despondent. And to hear you also remind us back again that
Yeah.
the opportunities are here, that we are the change agents towards bringing about change as well. And so being able to work through that and navigate and to be able to actually create content and be part of this industry is also quite
Yeah.
something revolutionizing for us because I don't think we often see ourselves in that sphere. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a few polls that I've run through as well, and I cannot believe the time has run past us so fast. But Nadia, I just want to say thank you. I think that you being here
Thank
has just
you.
It just have absolutely shifted a lot of perspectives that has made so many people feel so much more excited towards thinking in this way without the fear strategy behind it. And I mean, I'm all for moving from a space of love. And for those of us, I think imposter
Yes.
syndrome. I mean, I think Lizette mentioned earlier, imposter syndrome is real. It's also the fact that
Yeah.
abundance is real too, and there's a space for everyone. And I know one of your core messages online is just be who you are, show up as you are. And I absolutely love it when you
Yeah.
say that. So I want to ask you final insights, final words before we end our session.
I think if you're watching this and you're thinking about creating, or there's something that you're passionate about that you want to nurture, I think just post it. Just do it. Enrich yourself. Scroll on social media. See what's happening. Don't be scared of it, because as much as there are a lot of negative narratives on social media, there's a lot of positive things happening on
Mm,
social media as well. I mean, a TikToker just got on ENCA, because all of the attention was going to him and his TikTok channel, that they hired him on ENCA. So anything's possible. Literally
mm,
anything is possible. A
yeah,
lot of people
nee.
think that TikTok is just a dancing app, but in our country specifically, mostly millennials on TikTok.
Mm,
So I think that
which
that's a
includes,
great opportunity to grab that attention. Yeah, and
yeah.
me. So yeah, I think I'm
I'm so
trying
I'm
with
still
it too.
I'm still learning the vibes of TikTok. I'm still moving through the.
Yeah, there's
Stop
nothing
making
to be
fun of me
scared.
after the
You can
video.
create your own vibe. You can
Absolutely.
create your own vibe as well. Like there's no limits.
No, I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, Nadia, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Like
Thank
this
you. Thank
conversation
you. We're gonna do this
was,
again.
yes, this conversation was just so needed. And I know that, I mean, just thank you for showing up, firstly. I mean, I know that you're busy, you have a very busy schedule. I mean, for us to just to have met before this was already a tight meet. So, and for you to be here today, coming off a flight and being able to be here, it's just, it's big, it's appreciated, it's seen, and it's valued. And we thank you for all the hard work and for the shifts that you have embodied within yourself and that you have brought to the entire industry in itself. I think you've also created a massive platform for others to follow and you've led basically. So thank you for that, and thank you for bringing about that kind of change to for so many of us and for the youth as well. So we do appreciate it immensely.
Thank you. Sorry.
Are you now crying on the camera?
Got my period, man. So I'm just very emotional. Sorry.
Oh
But it's a
my God, so
pleasure.
beautiful. It's
It's a
so
pleasure.
beautiful. I'm loving this so much. It's
Sorry.
so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I'm really
I'm so with it. I'm so with it. You like my kind of person.
Yes, yes. I'm just really passionate about it, and I'm just excited that I can be a part of it, and I can actually help. And I
Mm.
will, I'll literally do everything I can to try and help where I can.
It's amazing. I'm so excited for our future co
Really.
creations and for connecting again in the future. And for our second session, y'all, there will be another Empower Hour and it will be a part two for the session. And guys, if you can just send some wonderful reactions to Nadia so that she can see how amazing this has been. And we have some raw and real and love it. And this is why I
Oh,
love
that's
this
cool.
woman. And thank you so much. And so there's a thank you for both of
Thank
us.
you.
Brilliantly done. Don't let it stop you. So the audience has spoken, and we have to follow sometimes what exactly what the public has to say. My director says the elderly appreciates you. So so we are so
You're
grateful and
welcome.
we are so grateful and I'm so excited for our future endeavors together and just keep well and have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
weekend and take care of yourself and Sure, go give yourself a big huggy because
Thank
you deserve it.
you. No, thank you. We'll definitely chat soon. First of many, and thank you to everybody for tuning in and for sending all the love and all the comments, even though I didn't see them. Yeah, I look forward to doing this again. And thank you so much for having me. And we'll chat soon.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you, everyone, and have a blessed Friday and a blessed weekend. Be safe, take care of yourselves, and look out for our next session in November. And we're just excited for what's to come. So, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.